Just gotta focus on yourself out here, y'all. Pay too much to the competition. Don't worry about what other people doing. Gotta trust your process. Worry about yourself, like I'm saying, man. Bigger than me, bigger than you. You know what I mean? You know what you gotta do, then do it. You always making excuses, we ain't got time for no excuses. You gotta get it, man. You know what I'm saying? Don't let nobody hold you back. Don't about that negativity, suggestions. Fuck all that shit, my nigga. Yeah. No competition. I'm feeling so fabulous. You niggas mad as shit, but it do not matter, kid. So what's the comparison? You niggas ain't zagging yet. Tell your homies stop gassing you before we pull up and embarrass you. No competition. I'm feeling so fabulous, and you niggas mad as shit, but it do not matter, kid. So what's the comparison? You niggas ain't zagging yet. Tell your homies stop gassing you before we pull up and embarrass you. Yeah. Still watching for clones, but they all over the globe. Probably why I say whoa. Young nigga never made money from stoves, but went hard with the zone. Me and Henny broke it down way before. Now we killing shows, just act like you know. Whoa. Got a new bitch from the bottom. Still never change how my niggas from Potters. Honest, I've been feeling golly. You get in my way, then you leave me no option. Niggas thinking this a race, till we put them in their place. Leave their family with a ghost, then we pull off in a race. Competition. I'm feeling so fabulous, and you niggas mad as shit, but it do not matter, kid. So what's the comparison? You niggas ain't zagging yet. Tell your homies stop gassing you before we pull up and embarrass you. No competition. I'm feeling so fabulous, and you niggas mad as shit, but it do not matter, kid. So what's the comparison? You niggas ain't zagging yet. Tell your homies stop gassing you before we pull up and embarrass you.
It's no competition. You niggas be lying about how you be feeling, saying you Jordan, you not even Pippin. Or Rodman when he was with Pistons. You blondie, you lying about all of your visions. Your paper be short like some midgets. I used to step out and just worry about digits, and now I just focus my visions. I had to distance myself from some people, cause they just be holding you back. I wasted some time, I never get back. Like why I do that? You niggas be bitching, it's just to be seen and put on the map. I only know some niggas who know how to spin up a check and get it right back.
No competition. I'm feeling so fabulous, and you niggas mad as shit, but it do not matter, kid. So what's the comparison? You niggas ain't zagging yet.
I think I'm cute.
Think I'm cute.
I know I'm sexy. I've got the look
that drives the girls wild. I got the moves that really move them. I send chills up and down their spines. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. Let's go, I need some energy. I'll make them hot. I'll make them shiver. These get weak. Whenever I'm around, they see me walk. They hear me talk. I'll make them feel like their God ain't real. I'm just a sexy boy. Are y'all ready for the blackout? Do not adjust your television sets. Your boy Pocket Locker is taking over on Gin and Truth, and you don't want to miss. That mic flipped off.
Eat your heart out, girls. Hands off the merchandise. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy.
Welcome everybody to another edition of The Blackout. I'm your host, Pocket Locker 86, along with the co-host that's just gonna do the most with the beating up and the chopping down and the inflicting the pain and the punishment upon our enemies. It is the one and only $1 million man himself, Uncle Bobby. How's life this side of monetization?
Life is doing good. I've made like a whopping $1.19, and I was thinking about retiring.
That's about 119 cents more than the rest of us.
I just assume it's a slow start. I still don't really know what the hell it is I'm doing when I click all the buttons.
Sure.
I just want to get my material out there. So, hey, let's see what happens.
So one thing that's come up that I want to get your take on is you've kind of changed tone a little bit. Uncle Bobby's had about like an 8 most streams rather than an 11. You've toned back some of the profanity and stuff like that. Was that do they say something to you, or was that sort of a conscientious decision to be a little bit broader appealing or something?
It was me reading kind of the terms of service, and they do give a list of topics and words. I can still say whatever I want to say, but that just pushes my video down lower. So it's like if you cuss within the first 30 seconds, you're least likely to have someone advertise on your channel.
Really?
And my opening was, all right, gang, let's jump into this shit.
Yeah.
And so it was a conscious decision to attract advertisers. Okay. I hope the energy is still there, but I just have to still come up with different words because as much as I miss fuckface, it kind of defeats the purpose of monetization. So I am open to suggestions.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. We were just curious. We didn't know if YouTube says something or if you're just thinking, okay, now I want to, welcome in a new group of people or whatever. But it's these are all the things that come with growing, right? A platform is new level, new challenges. But yeah, we're all still loving the show. I also think it's cool too because now there's so many new subs that you have, right? Because normally it's like a trickle. And so when new subs are trickling in, you don't know who's really heard what. Right. But most of your fans, we came somewhere in that trickle. So we've heard some stories, but not all the stories, some of the backstory, but not all the backstory. But now that you have this like sort of wave of new viewers, you sort of have a built-in excuse to say, hey, look, some of this I know y'all ain't heard before because you haven't been here longer than a week. So now you can revisit some of those classics. And then now some of the fans that have been around a little bit longer, we're getting to introduce those characters, hearing those stories too. And that's been fun.
The repeating of the stories, I think is important. One is a reminder to those that have been following me for a while. Thank y'all all so much. But also, to get the new people up to speed. And I know a lot of it has come from your channel, from Paulogia, my time with Eric and V on Skeptic Generation. Again, the only reason why I've toned down the profanity is monetization.
Yeah, sure.
Because I've had DMs and messages saying, we really wish that you wouldn't cuss so much. And my response is, 1, thank you for listening to my show. 2, my message is more important than fuckface or slap nuts. And so when I'm getting angry because I'm talking about the fuckfaces that beat my grandfather over the head with the fucking shovel because he thought it was a good idea to give black people a dignified burial. If all you heard was fuckface Klansmen, and now you can't focus on my grandfather was trying to do something honorable, then I keep I'm simply toning it down because of monetization.
Sure.
But for the people that are catching up, I'm not trying to run anyone off, but I'm not going to change my channel for them.
Yes, absolutely.
Because my message is more important than fuck face or fuck knuckle or go fuck yourself. Because when I point that at somebody, it's someone who's deserved it.
Yes.
Like, I think Matt Gaetz is a fuck face.
Absolutely.
You paid to hurt people over Venmo. You're a piece of shit.
Right.
Now, if all you heard was piece of shit and fuck face, but missed the part where he's screwing underage girls, then your focus, to me, it's in the wrong place.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I hope people can get past the profanity and hear.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's interesting too that you brought that up because we were kind of dealing with the situation in our community this week where one of the content creators that a lot of us watch named Doug PineCreek, a lot of us we've been disappointed because he's kind of like a right winger. Like, he's a great counter-apologist, but he's been spewing a lot of right-wing propaganda. Yeah, and so this week, like, going into the midterms, he made 2 videos. Like, one was basically juxtaposing some of the Democratic presidential tones and sayings around, say, Obama or Biden, and then contrasting that with the stuff around Trump. Basically trying to say Democrats are hypocrites because we say the same thing. Okay, fine. And then he did another one where it's like all the top 10 cities in, per capita murder rate are Democratic-run cities. And this is just headed straight down the path of why don't you just tell us all the brown people are murderers, which is essentially what he did, right? He had a podcast where he was talking about this, and somebody was trying to talk to him about it, and he asked him, well, what demographic you think all these murders are? And the guy goes, young. He goes, no, skin color. And so, to your point, I called him out twice, like on his channel and on a mutual friend's channel when it came up again. Yeah. And his whole thing after both interactions with me was to critique me for being emotional, for being upset. Oh, Master's not going to hear you if you use that tone, right? That's all I hear is plantation mentality. Yeah. But to your point, it's like, if I sat up here and said, you're hurting people with your dangerous words, and you picked a weaponized time to do so, which is an attack on vulnerable people, and all you heard was, calm down, why is the black man so angry? You're never going to get through to anybody if you're this upset. Like, again, having a different conversation.
I want to touch on those 2 things, because that one I'm not a fan of. The whole... Where's all the violence happening? It's in Democratic runs. I remember having this conversation a long time ago with someone at work. And now, again, if it's not football or food, we don't talk about it.
Right.
And she pulled the same shit. And, the states that are run by Democrats, blah, 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 blah. I live in Texas. We put people to death here like we're going to football and baseball games. It is nothing. It's like, this is a red run city. A red run state.
I had a joke when Model said, I said nothing fries in Texas like people.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I think it was Ron White who said it. We do it so much here that we have put in an express lane.
Yeah, right.
We do. And it was like, so all this crime in a state that has been run red since Ann Richards got, beat by George Bush. And if I'm not mistaken, that is just a talking point. That the stat is actually reversed.
Oh, interesting.
That it's more conservative right. And what was the other thing you said?
Well, it's definitely red states.
Red state cities. And the speech. Yeah, you can find Democrats saying the same thing that the other side has said. But here's the enormous difference between the two. And this is why I don't accept this as an argument. When Trump said it, when all his supporters said it, we ended up with the second insurrection in U.S. history. When Trump said it, we literally had Nazis.
Right.
Who had the balls to do it in broad daylight.
Right.
Jews will not replace us.
Right.
We've had more racist rhetoric.
Yes.
pretty much since I was born. And I'm going to tell you, that's saying a lot.
And
because it wasn't until COVID that I finally went 365 days without a white person calling me a nigger. So and I'm dead serious.
Yeah, right.
And so when I sit here and I hear, well, Democrats did it too. Well, here's the difference. Look at us now. Look at us now.
Yes.
It's not worth for all the good you can say about Trump. It's not worth what you're seeing.
It's also totally hypocritical because let's just take the example of Democrats complaining that the election was stolen or whatever, right? It's like, number one, we didn't claim that. We made a very clear statement, which is he didn't win the popular vote. And people have always had a problem with the ability of somebody to lose a popular vote and win the Electoral College, right? So now if people are complaining about, hey, these Republicans keep getting into the presidency even though they're not the most popular candidate because of the Electoral College. But again, to your point, we still did the transfer of power. He still served his 4 terms, and nobody took it to he's not the lawfully elected president. It was a critique on the system, and then we all went along with it because that's what you're supposed to do. They decided, the election was stolen, which it was not. They're then using it not metaphorically, and then they use it to motivate. So again, to put the two up, and then I had some friends of mine, because white boys love to sniff each other's farts and tell them how good they smell, that said that was genius. Like it was some sort of genius to juxtapose these two quotes. Like it was so brilliant of him to be able to put these two next to each other to make this troll video. And I'm like, I don't see anything brilliant about it. There's
nothing brilliant about it at all. No. Not the word I would use to describe.
Exactly. All right, something else I want to. First of all, man, before we get into it, man, what do? You not have alcohol? I got Jack Daniels in a Jack Daniels glass. Okay. This
is straight Hendrix, which I bought yesterday.
Oh, is that that's the one you like? The Hendrix is that what that is? I always wondered, was it a particular drink or is it it's the gin you like? It's the gin your dad drank, I'm imagining.
Like. Yeah. Oh no. My dad drinks some bullshit.
Beefeater?
Oh no. Oh, are you kidding? What do you think my dad's made out of money? My dad still buys the gin that's provided on post. And when I was a kid, it literally just said gin across the label. Now, in cursive, it reads military special.
I was going to say you got the military.
And it comes
Where do you buy that?
1.75 Fort Sam Houston.
Oh, you got to be like on base.
Oh, yeah. But
so he's still
Randolph is closer. No, he's retired. But he still has commissary privilege and stuff like that. So now, since Randolph is closer, he'll go to Randolph Air Force Base and pick up that bullshit in a plastic jug. There's probably about 20 bottles in the garage.
Oh, my goodness. Well, cheers, man. Enjoy it. Appreciate you.
Yep. Back at you.
So the thing I wanted to get into today, which I think is a really interesting topic, especially because I'm trying to stay locked into the community, and I think a lot of us are shifting our focus to the holidays, right?
Yep. 'Tis the season.
Elections out of the way, here comes Thanksgiving. And I always struggle with my family. For those that don't know, my family is very religious. My grandfather's a Pentecostal bishop. He runs a church with my grandmother. My mom's a non-denominational Christian. I grew up with that. My dad's actually Methodist, but my dad's not religious, so I just consider him like not religious, nominally Christian. And then I grew up Catholic schools, and I worked at a Reformed church, so I've got all the flavors sealed in quite strongly. But I mean, my grandparents are type that are like, before we back out of this driveway, Lord Jesus, we just come to you right now praying for traveling mercies over the highways and the byways. And when you call, they don't say hello. They say, praise the Lord.
Are you serious?
Yeah. It's how they answer the phone. No, they really pray for traveling mercies, and they answer the phone, praise the Lord. It's too much.
Wow. Yep, that's a lot. That's involved. That's some commitment.
That's involved. So for me, right, part of what I'm trying to Mythvision is in the house, man. We got and James Apperson is here. Mythvision is a really big. You know Derek from Mythvision?
No, I'm looking at the side.
Yeah, you gotta check out Mythvision podcast. He's huge,
will.
Man. It's like the captain of the ship, man. Derek, good to see you. Good to see everybody else. So what I'm realizing though, right, is I'm getting ready to go into the holidays, and my family is just so religious that in my estimation, we can't not have the conversation anymore because it's too overbearing. But there's certain regard in which I've realized we don't actually talk about their faith. So by that I mean they're religious as crap, right? So
right.
There's always talking about their identity as Christians, like Jesus this, Jesus that. But they don't sit down and talk about what they actually believe and don't believe. So for instance, with my grandparents being Pentecostal, I'm pretty sure they are like hellfire and brimstone, do this and you're done type of people. Well, I have an uncle who committed suicide. So I think that they think he's burning in hell. But we've never had the conversation. And it'd be interesting because they're almost those people where, like, because they're ministers and they're old, nobody's willing to, like, challenge their faith, which I think is a tragedy because it prevents them from growing personally. But I think some of these religious ideas, if you can identify them, you can really sort of bring that out. Like, wow, that's a terrible thing to live with, right? To spend decades thinking that your son is, it's hard enough to lose a son, right? Now it's like you lose a son and then you spend the rest of your life, being tormented by the end of his life, right? So he's resting in peace. He's done. It may be a tragic end to his life, but hey, at least it's over. Whereas the torture for you goes on indefinitely.
Goes on. Oh yeah.
But it's like we can't even, in a sense, help our family until we had a conversation. Right, we got to have a conversation of what do you think, what do you believe, is this what you actually think is happening? Then I could have the conversation of, I actually think that's a terrible belief, it's not true, and you'd be a lot better off without it.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's that is such a touchy subject.
Absolutely.
And it is a lose-lose. Like, I remember when people found out that I didn't believe, they every angle to come at me to try to get me back to the flock. And one of them was a former UT football player who's probably 15 years younger than me. And I guess they thought he was going to, y'all speak the same language. It's like, this isn't going to work. And dude sat down and the same bullshit. How do you think you got here? And all this other crap. And I can't remember how we got on the topic, but he had lost his mother a couple years ago. I was like, dude, I'm so sorry. And the way that he was talking, I could tell either his mother was not a Christian or at minimum she was not a strict Christian like he was now.
Yeah, he wasn't the right type.
Right. And I remember saying, it's like, dude, hold on. Just the way you're talking, your mother passed, which I'm very sorry for. But are you telling me right now that your mother is burning in hell right now? And I remember he said, she had every opportunity to turn to Christ. And I was like, dude, you can go fuck yourself. If you worship someone that would do that to your mother, I want you to go home and think about what it is that you just said to me. And so
exactly
to the point of your uncle, which I'm sorry about.
Yeah, it happens.
But to even have that damn conversation, like, is my uncle burning in hell? Is my brother? is that a conversation that really needs to be had? And two, if you're going to talking to your family, talking to your family about religion, especially as something as volatile as heaven and hell, I put that in the same category as loaning money to a friend. Write it off or be prepared to lose that friend. If you bring up the topic of religion to your family, you need to be ready to lose a portion of your family because it is such a stronghold.
It is.
Literally.
It is.
Yeah, where you can sit here and say, my uncle is possibly burning in hell. My brother, my nephew is burning in hell. And if you believe something to the point to where someone that you loved is being hurt by someone else and you have to accept it, you're not critiquing how someone made the potato salad. You're talking about a belief that is so entrenched in someone's heart that they actually believe that a loved one is being hurt.
And then they have to worship. They got to worship. They got to worship that thing that's torturing them.
Absolutely.
The thing I've realized for me, and this is different than where a lot of people are. I realize my family's dying to me. I'm such a I don't know, nerd or passionate. I don't know what the right word is, but there's something in me to where if I don't see you growing, I just feel like our relationship is dying. So I feel like my family is starting to mean less and less and less and less to me because I'm just growing and maturing, and it's almost like they're in reverse, right? They're later in life, but they're almost dematuring, and I just can't get with the childish games to me. And so it's tough because I've almost felt like because I agree with you. There's no way these type of things go well, right? Never. Right? It's like you're like telling somebody they've got a serious problem. I mean, it's not gonna be an easy conversation. But for me, it's almost like I'm suffering more not having the conversation.
Oh yeah, dude, this is such a fucked up ass topic.
And by the way, I just wanted to say that the hell thing was just one example, and I want the comments and you to think, and all of us think about just other examples, because the main thing is we don't talk about the faith, right? That was because it came up like so one of my friends, I don't want to name people, but one of my friends was like asking me about it, right? And he's basically saying, I feel, a certain sense of like, they know I came out to my mother, right? And they're like, I really wish I could do that. I really wanted to, tell my mom that I'm not a believer. But it's kind of hard, right? And so one of the things we were talking about is that, and I think their experience matched mine, which is sometimes you don't even know how to talk to them about their faith because you genuinely don't know what they believe. They're a Christian. They've told you up and down, like I said, pray for traveling mercies and pray for, praise God when you answer the phone, right? But we've never sat down for them to tell me, what. So and also it'd be interesting because I think this is a way you can almost, I hate to say this, but if I imagine sitting down at my table, I'm here, my mom and her husband are maybe over here, and my grandparents are over here. I feel like if we actually got to talk about the faith, it'd be interesting because I think it would lessen the weight of it for everybody because they would realize they already don't agree about it.
Yeah.
In other words, if my grandmother's over here saying, well, yeah, no, we think, and again, it'd be a pleasant conversation. I know everybody thinks this would be like, I'm imagining a pleasant conversation. I'm saying, let's actually talk about the faith. And it's almost like I don't want to say a trick, but you're saying, like, I'm not here to counter-apologize. I just don't understand what you guys believe. If you're going to tell me that Jesus, like, can I just ask some fundamental questions, right? It's the same thing we do with Counter-Apologetics. If you see somebody called Doug or Atheist calls your show, sometimes you just need to figure out what flavor Christian are they. So do you believe in hell? Is it fire and brimstone? Is it eternal conscious torment? Are you a Trinitarian? What does it mean to be saved by grace? Like all of these I just think good questions. And so I would just imagine that would be interesting because they'd probably bring out some stuff where there's a lot of disagreement already just on how they see the basics. And I think that establishing that is already the case might make it a bit easier, right? Because you're recognizing just because we're Christian doesn't mean we all mean the same thing.
True. But I guess my thing is, I've never really had that talk with my family. Sure. It's just especially with what we've gone through over the last 2 years.
Doesn't seem worth it.
Right. You definitely don't have to tell a Reed or a Leonard right now that time is fleeting.
Right.
We are very well aware that this is a temporary state of being. So let's focus on the stuff that we do have in common versus the stuff that we don't have in common.
I feel that.
Now, I personally wouldn't have to have that talk with my family because I know what they believe because that was me.
Sure.
And anywhere from as in your face as eternal torment to the joke of, oh, Chris doesn't believe in God, or let me back up so the lightning doesn't hit me. Either way, it's a threat. Either way, it's a threat. So, but yeah, I would think, because I do acknowledge that not all Christians fall in the same category. I know one right off the top of my head. No one's going, I mean, if you really fuck up, right? Hitler, bam. Mussolini, bam. Gay people, you're partying in heaven, Jack. Yeah. There's no asterisks. There's no ... So, yeah, getting everyone's cards on the table to see if everyone is the same, relatively same flavor of Christian is a very important step. But
yeah, sure.
For me, I've always put it like dating. Because when I came clean about being an atheist, one, I'm black. Don't know if you've noticed that. And the way I was raised, black people date black people. Well, in Austin, we're less than 6%.
So you date white people.
So what? I date whoever will date me back. Right? And so then, as liberal as people think Austin is still the Bible Belt. And so trying to date someone who's religious, which I've tried, for me intellectually doesn't work. Because, and I told a friend this, just imagine you start dating someone in January. Everything about this person is fantastic. Then you get to your first Halloween, your first Thanksgiving. Now it's your first Christmas. You're in your mid-40s. And this person comes running downstairs in onesie footy pajamas saying, baby, if we don't go to bed, Santa's going to, pass up our house. After a while, and you realize that this person is not joking, that you're talking to a grown-ass man or woman who thinks that Santa Claus is real. And I told her, your pussy will never get wet for this individual ever again. You won't. There's no amount of Astroglide you can apply to your gender to make it work. That's how I feel sitting across the dinner table from a grown-up who sat there that, no, you don't seem to understand the assignment.
Right.
A 14-year-old girl who's never had intercourse got pregnant, and then out of her vagina came a baby with magic powers. You don't understand. And I was like, I just can't. So there's that disconnect. But then when you put it towards your family, it's harder because I can break up with a girlfriend. I can tell a fuck buddy we're gone. But as of last Christmas, my aunt still asked me, would you like to go to church? So, I mean, it's hard.
But here's the thing. So
there's a balancing act.
There totally is. And I've told people, hey, maybe just don't do it.
Don't do what?
Don't talk about it. Don't tell them. You don't have to. This conversation isn't for everybody. I always tell people, this conversations like this to me One is to help people just to reflect where I'm at. Here's what I'm thinking. Here's what I've done. Here's what I haven't done. Here's what I'm batting around in my brain, you know? But also it's like to encourage people who are kind of there with me. Like if you've got good reasons to never bring it up, you've probably got good reasons to never bring it up. But some of us are kind of like just in a different place, or we're dealing with different people, and we kind of want to bring it up, or we want to talk about it, or it's becoming a thing that we're thinking more about. So it's more to like, you know, encourage people and encourage myself, right? But yeah, I do really think you have to think about the bigger picture, which is unfortunate, right? Well, there was a comment in the chat that I wanted to touch on while you were speaking before. Camden said, I try to tell them about the beliefs they have that I am grateful for so that there's some common ground. Also, guys, we're at 100 chats, so thanks for the 100 chats. I really appreciate that. Like we've had 100 live chat messages already. It's pretty cool.
There it is. Wow, look at all that.
Yeah.
And yes, Astroglide is a real thing.
But yeah, I think that finding common ground is really important. So somebody told me that your family, or at least they think your mother knew before she passed.
My mom knew.
So was that that was a one-on-one conversation, or what? If you don't mind sharing, you don't have to.
Oh no, not at all. Mom saw the tattoo.
Well, let me see it. What is the tattoo?
Let me see if I can. It's
the
script A.
Okay, is that the atheism symbol, right? I've seen that, like atheist Texas Austin.
Yeah.
Oh, so you got atheism tatted. I didn't know it was that serious.
Bobby. Oh, gotcha. Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, you had to sit down on it and let's make this permanent, baby. Let's seal this deal. Let's seal in the flavor.
Seal in the fucking flavor. There's a story behind that one too, but Mom saw the tattoo and wanted to know what it meant, and I was like, well, it's a symbol for atheism. And Mom wanted to know exactly what it meant, and I told her, and I will go to my grave hating her answer. It was, I told her I don't believe in a God, and she said, I'm too afraid not to. Now, ever since I was that big.
I fucking love that answer, by the way. Sorry.
Yeah. What's that? I was too afraid not to?
Yeah, because it was true.
No, it was honest. But my thing is, ever since I was a kid, and especially as an adult, I have been ultra protective of my mom. And she's been ultra protective of me. If I said, Mom, let's go to this restaurant, and her response was no, I'm too afraid to walk in that restaurant because the manager will talk shit or they'll hurt me. I would say, Mom, you stay here. I'll see you in half an hour. I would go to that restaurant and I would drag that manager out and I'd whip his monkey ass for threatening my mom and making her feel unsafe. It hurts me because they did to Mom what was done to me, and that was put it in her head when she was a child.
Yes.
That this loving God loves you so much
Absolutely.
that if you don't worship him, he's going to hurt you.
Absolutely.
And I was like, if anyone else, I won't go to this gas station, Chris. I won't go to this restaurant, Chris. If my mom ever told me that she would not go somewhere because she was afraid of how someone would treat her, I was like, I can solve that problem.
Right.
Give me 10 minutes. I'll have them putting rose petals on your fucking chair. But it will bother me until the day I die that she believed that someone would hurt her if her mindset wasn't right. So yeah, to answer your question, yeah, but we just never talked about it.
Right.
Because her love for her son was infinitely more important than church and tithing and all this other stuff.
So for y'all, it was a one-shot deal, right? Mm-hmm. It was what does the tattoo mean? I tell her, brief back and forth, and then that was kind of it.
Yep, that was it.
Yeah. Now with me, I've already kind of had that conversation with my mom, and I went off, and I don't mean in a negative, like I wasn't going off at her, but I kind of went off about religion. And I was talking about how as a black person, they always raised me that the narrative was about freedom, but this desire to call somebody Lord and Master, there's no way that's not the desire to be a slave. And just how untrue it was. I talked about the last time I visited her on a holiday, how, I sat there and listened to her pastor just feed her lies during their service. And I talked about how, as an evolutionary biologist, people attack my work because they think, it's some sort of righteous thing to do because of their religion. But I said very clearly, I said, they attack me because they're Christians.
Exactly.
And they do this because they think they're representing their faith. The people who are harassing me are harassing me because they think it's their religious duty to do so.
Oh, yeah.
So I kind of laid it out. I even said I think it's really hypocritical for people to drag me out of bed to go to church on Sunday, and then all of a sudden I figure out it's not true, and now they don't want to talk about it.
Pretty much.
So I mean, I really kind of went into it, and I always tell people, like I told my friend, like, I almost torture my mother because of her reasonableness, right? And I'm sure you felt that way with your mom. Like, my mom's a strong black woman. She's gonna put me before everything else, and she's so reasonable. Even if she's wrapped up in this Jesus nonsense, she's such a reasonable person that I feel like I could get through to her.
Right.
So it's almost like asking for it from her perspective. And I realize I'm saying something abusive.
Asking for it?
Yeah,
What do you mean?
because it's like she's smart and she's reasonable and she's a good person. So it's almost like we're going to have the conversation because I expect her to have a reasonable response to the conversation. Whereas if she was so off the reservation crazy, I thought she'd disown me and never speak to me again and then start crying and then be tortured and then end up with the shrink and then have, right? Like if she was that much of a nut job, I probably wouldn't bring it up. Right, because it's like,
right. Oh no, absolutely.
So she's just reasonable enough, right, that I think I can get through to her, and she's gonna put the relationship first, and she's gonna hear me out and understand where I'm coming from, and right on cue, she did. You know what I mean? And she was like, I think, appreciative of me having the conversation, and we've had little conversations leading up to it. So it wasn't she didn't know I was an atheist. It was kind of like we've had a few of the conversations, and they started out small, and then they've gotten a little bit, more involved. But she even does stuff like if she mentions something like in a religious language, she'll kind of like try to correct herself in a way that even I'll be like, you don't have to do that for me.
Wow.
Yeah, she'll be like, oh,
so she's really making effort.
Really making effort, yeah. And then even like when I told her my friend died or whatever, like she tries to be there for me, but not use religious language to console me, and that's what I mean. Like, yeah, exactly. That's it.
No, I'm serious. Way to go, Mom.
Way to go, Mom. Yeah. But
yeah.
It's funny because I feel that, right? I feel like, oh, I'm having the uncomfortable conversation with her because she's a reasonable person, whereas ironically, if she were less reasonable, we probably wouldn't be having the conversation. And then as hard as it is to have those conversations, it feels worth it to me because that's kind of where you get the other side of it. Like you get on the other side of it, and now I feel like our relationship is improving, right? And maybe that's what I'm dealing with. Maybe I'm dealing with the fact that I felt like our relationship is improving in that regard. And now she's just moved in my grandparents, right? And so now I'm feeling like, oh, Lord. Because now, like, the serious cultness thing is going to be permeating her whole house now, right? So I think I'm threatened. I think I'm threatened by the fact that with my grandparents moving into my mom's house so that my mom can take care of them, they're going to firmly establish the cultness of, Priester Central. And then I'm going to feel alienated because I was making progress with my mom, So, maybe that's what I'm working through.
Relationships thrive on honesty. whether that relationship remains,
right,
or it gets
ends.
decimated. Right? Telling someone you're not religious, telling someone you're gay, telling someone you're trans, it can only make that relationship better, because that person's either going to like, yeah, okay, I get it. How do we move forward with you being a blank and me being a blank? Or that relationship just dies out on the spot and can't be resuscitated. Either way, it's a clean break. So, you know, you and your mother's relationship sounds fantastic, because it sounds like she's willing to walk step by step with you and realize that's my son, regardless of what he does or does not believe, which isn't always the case.
Definitely.
And
right.
Religion is one of those items. Like, I can't think of a single Trump supporter in my family. No fucking way.
Right.
But maybe politics, but definitely religion. It's one of those things that gets put in front of bloodline. Like, as much as we are Saints fans in my family, if someone came out and said, I'm an Atlanta Falcons fan, we would rag the shit out of that person. Let's say Reggie, my cousin. Yeah, I got something to tell y'all. I actually like the Atlanta Falcons. We would joke like, get the fuck out.
Get out, right? Go sit at the kids' table.
Yeah, it's like, who the fuck are you? Who did I grow up with? You demon bastard. But I would still we would all love Reggie.
Right.
But being a Saints fan is not a prereq to be in the Leonard clan.
Right.
We would not put our love for the Saints above bloodline, whereas religion seems to be a little different from time to time, in that the ideology is more important than the bloodline. If you go and you tell, you seem to be lucky, I got fortunate, but it's not always the case. When you say, Mom, Dad, I don't believe in God anymore, you may see yourself out of this family.
Yes.
You don't belong here anymore. And it's like the religion, the belief is more important than the actual bloodline. Just like the dude that played at UT after I did. This woman, you were formed in her stomach. And your response to my question, do you really think that your mother's burning in hell? Well, she had every opportunity.
Yeah, I can't.
And you're like,
dude, I can't get with this. Like, no.
And so it's like, religion is one of those items, if not the very first item on the list, to where belief is more important than your bloodline. So you're very fortunate that your mom is standing right next to you. And I say congratulations.
Yeah. No, I really appreciate it. But it's a risk that people have to take. I say the same thing about counter-apologetics. To be honest, when I'm dealing with a Christian and I'm dealing with an apologist, I really don't think I'll get through to them. Like, I think there's like damn near zero chance I'll get through to them.
Pretty much.
But what I do think is that there's some low probability that I'll get through to somebody in their audience or somebody that needs to hear it. And then maybe some off chance I'll even give them something to think about. Now here's the essential problem though. If I were to play those odds, I'd never have the conversation. Just never would, right? I mean, it's just such a low probability thing. It's like trying to win the lottery. Now I'm just not. Why even bother? I ain't gonna play.
Exactly.
It's a bad financial strategy. But the thing is, it's like some of them will change their mind, and inherently, the nasty part of reality is I won't know who's who until we have those conversations. And that's the crazy part about this whole thing with family and friends. Is like we can agree to not have the conversation because it's such a hard, uncomfortable conversation to have, but then we're kind of waving the white flags. And the thing I'm getting at is I'm starting to realize maybe it's a little bit worth having the conversation if we, one, can, and two, think it's worthwhile. And part of that is we don't know who's going to surprise us by how reasonable they might respond. And even if that's not going all the way to like, oh, yeah, well, I'm on your side now. The people who might just give us simple concessions of, you know, not using as strong religious language around us, or trying to understand us and speak to us in a way that doesn't need to assume we're on that Jesus tip anymore. Like, that can be so rewarding. And I have no idea how to advise people as to, like, how to assess when you're in a situation where trust us, like, don't even try it. It's just not even worth it. Versus, dude, I don't know. Your family and friends seem hella reasonable. Like, I think they might surprise you if you just let them know what's up. Like, you know, and that's just something to talk about, right? Interesting conversation, I think, right?
On that tip, like, I have never once called Matt Dillahunty, Tracy Harris, Jen Peoples, Martin Wagner, Jeff D. I got a chance to talk to Paula Gia. I got a chance to talk to Shannon Q. The overwhelming majority of people who kept planting the seeds, I've never talked to. Never. But those were the people that challenged my beliefs. Because if you would have told me 12 years ago I would have an atheist YouTube channel, that I'd have almost 1,600 followers on Twitter, 16,000 on Twitter because I'm sitting here critiquing religion, I would have said, how much would you like to bet? But you keep having those conversations as a counter-apologist, which I don't know if I can use that label on myself.
Oh, definitely can.
Do it. Okay, way to go me. you continue to do it, one, because it's the right thing to do. The three-headed dog that is Christianity, it needs to be challenged. And the 500 people in front of you, you've got no idea. But that 501st person behind you, you've done it. Maybe I've done it. Matt Dillahunty, it's like it's that 501st person whose face you'll never see, who went home that night and was like, why do I buy this stuff?
Yes. And here's what's crazy.
Yeah.
Here's what's crazy. We're that person. We're literally that oddball person that changed their mind.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like you
absolutely.
actually, right? So you not only know it's possible, you are somehow one of those rare people who changed their mind. So something got you. Something got you.
Starting on Sunday, I will be doing my shows from the mountains of Colorado.
Really?
I'm taking a vacation. It's much needed. And the dude, he sat right there. And the way my living room is configured right now, it was my best friend. And he sat right there. He asked me one question. One question. I woke up the next morning. No, it was the Hitchens Challenge.
Oh, and it didn't even hit you right away. It didn't. You had to think about it. You slept on it, and then it hit you. That's crazy.
Name one thing that you can do good in the name of religion that you can't do it just because it's a Tuesday. I woke up the next morning. And so he is me and I am him. We're the exact same person. He never beat me over the head. He never, every time I had a comment, he would do exactly what I would have done to him. Are you sure about that? Seriously, think about what you just said.
Wow. And
Simon just kept dropping stuff, and he sat right there. And he's such an asshole. He got this look on his face. When Simon Stanley knows he is right, you're done. You're not winning that argument. And I still remember because he just kind of leaned back. His dead girlfriend was, he kind of put his arm over his lip, and he asked me the question. When I woke up the next morning, I didn't call myself an atheist. I just knew I didn't believe in the Christian God anymore. And that's when I found Tracy and Matt and everybody else. And this version of me is
different. Let me touch on that.
Go ahead.
Did you go straight to YouTube? Like you said, you found Tracy and Matt. Was that you talking about the Tracy and Matt? We know Matt Dillahunty, Tracy, like
Tracy Harris,
the Atheist Experience.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
How? Like how did? Because to me, it's like that wasn't available. Like I didn't know about that, right? So when I became an atheist, I didn't realize I could just reach out into YouTube atheisms.
I'm not sure how I found them.
Okay.
Like I was married to a very severe Catholic once upon a time. And I remember so long ago, now they've got like graphics and shit and they look all sexy and vibrant. Back then their setup was worse than mine. It was quite literally just a banner behind them and they sat at a picnic table and they just waxed. And I grew up so religious and times have changed. If you would have said atheism to me in 1987, my response quite literally would have been, what rap group is that? Didn't know what it was. And I remember once seeing the banner on the TV. And I remember asking, what is that? You know what my ex-wife did? She changed that channel with the quickness. But I don't know if that was stuck in my head or what, but I don't remember how I found Matt and Tracy and everybody, but I did. And that's what got me started down this road.
That's pretty awesome.
I mean, I sit and I think about like Matt's story. Studying to become a Baptist preacher. I'm not even drunk yet. I'm just tired. Holy shit. A Baptist preacher.
Yeah, I probably messed you up because that's our family name and I said it. Priester.
Yeah, what's that?
Our family name is Priester, so I said it, and then that's probably what got you. It's my fault.
Fucked me up. But you know, his was kind of the same thing. And I remember it was the one time that I cried watching the Atheist Experience. He wrote a letter to his family, and he read it to us.
Damn.
And it just kicked me in my left nut, and that's one that I don't have anymore. And it was almost like he was reading his own eulogy.
Damn.
Because it's just like, I think about my own personal travels, not with my family. And this person wasn't anything more than, you know, what it was. There was mutual respect and we got to see each other naked. But when this person found out I didn't believe in God, it's like, I'm not trying to raise your kids. Our arrangement is still the same. But I remember she said, it does bother me that you don't believe in God. And my response has always been the same. You didn't say that last night when I was knocking the bottom out of it.
Right.
What has changed other than, you know, I don't go to church? And it's like being judged negatively by friends and family based on what we are not versus asking us what we are. There's so much more to me than my non-belief, just like I'm sure there's more to Christians than their belief in a God.
Right.
You know one thing about me. So I'm ranting, but yeah.
No, you're good.
That just really, you know, hit a switch for me.
Yeah. So
because it is hard.
The thing you touched on there that I have been wrestling with lately too is a couple things. One, I feel like the most important thing is it's just true. It's just true. The most genuine, honest way to be about yourself is to live your truth.
Absolutely.
It's like you talk about examples of, Dwayne Wade and his wife, right?
Right.
Dwayne Wade's child come out, says, hey, I'm this. They say, okay, cool, we're on board. What do I got to do? Because that's their truth. So I feel like for a lot of us, some people even consider it a moral obligation. And I'm not necessarily here to have that particular conversation, but basically they're saying, if it's true that you don't believe in God, you have an obligation to say so. Because that's your honesty. So if you lie by omission you are just doing that. You're lying by omission the same way anybody else lies by omission. Now, you may say, I don't want to break grandma's heart, and that's why I'm not telling her this thing. And again, I might agree that that's the best decision to make, but it is what it is, right? And so it's...
So, quick left-hand turn.
Go ahead, you're good.
I saw this name when I did my one and only debate, and that is Stupid Whore Energy.
Yes.
And that name just popped up on the screen.
Yes.
And when James read that out the first time, that there's a comment from Stupid Whore Energy, I almost hung up on James. It's like, how can you use that fucking language? Only to realize this is this person's actual handle. So my screen just changed. Yes. And I saw Stupid Whore Energy.
Yes. Yes.
Whoever you are, hi. You got the greatest screen name ever. And I have no idea why I'm looking at Floyd Mayweather right now. But yeah, hi.
Also,
I don't know if we've ever officially spoke.
Jay's Clown Girl and Trump's nuclear codes are her other handles. She has a lot of handles. Yeah. Yes.
No, well, it's nice to officially say hi to you, even though I've seen you online before.
Yes. Also, literally, my one of my best fans. It's like definitely my biggest tipper. My biggest tipper. So.
I'm looking right here. So there's Stupid Whore Energy. I just want to say hi.
So I gotta sing for my supper when she's around.
Wow. Okay. There we go.
It's a great name to hear a Christian say for sure. So.
Yeah, keep going. Sorry about that.
I don't even remember what were we talking about?
Well, we were on the family tip, and then I just saw it, for whatever reason, my screen just changed.
Yeah. Oh, I remember what I was talking about. I was talking about how it's so one, it's the most honest thing you can do, right? And then two, I realized that a lot of what I hear in this I don't know, these discussions we have about these issues, be it politics or religion or whatever, is tactics. You know, I hate to say it, that to sometimes do counter-apologetics, we end up acting like apologists. So, rather than say what we mean to say, which is, I think, the typical way to relate to each other, you know, so... if you say to me, oh, hey, the Saints are playing the Cowboys this weekend, I'm a root for my Saints, I'm just going to be straight up and say, hey, I hate to break it to you, but I happen to be a Cowboys fan. How about them Cowboys? And it's okay.
We would cease to be friends for 3 hours.
Yeah, we cease to be friends for 3 hours, pretty much. Instead, what we do is, a friend tells you, oh, they're Christian and they believe, God is the most important thing in their life. And what do we do instead? We go, yeah, well, that's great for you. And, so we start a whole long song and dance and essentially employ a tactic to avoid having to come out and just say, hey, I think that's made up and not real. Sorry.
But that is how strong of an influence religion has.
Absolutely. And, it compels you to need to do that.
Turn. Oh, yeah. So, hold on. Yeah. Lena and Camden, I would love to have you on my show. Absolutely. But I have noticed, as I'm sure you have and everyone else in the chat has, that the God/Jesus stronghold is so strong that even atheists tiptoe around it.
I guess that's what I'm getting at. Yeah, it's weird.
And like I still remember the first time at work, and this is when I think for those of us that were born religious and now atheists, we all kind of follow the same track. Religious. You hit this point where you're an atheist. Now everything is about your non-belief, right? That's the joke. An atheist, a vegan, and a CrossFitter walk into a bar. How do you know that? They've told everyone within the first 2 minutes. And so you slingshot because you spent the first, X amount of your life believing in this crap. And so I was no different. And I can't remember what this person said, but I was being very critical of Christianity. 2 people over here who share with me that they were believers, they even told me to back down.
Wow.
And I was like, and I didn't say anything at the time because I was new at this. But I was like, my critiques are legit, but religion is so strong that it even has the antithesis standing up for it.
Yes.
And you even hear atheists say, well, you know,
Yes.
Jesus was the greatest, but I was like, Jesus was a fucking asshole. I actually had an atheist on Friday, or I'm sorry, a non-believer. She wouldn't use this word for herself. Say that Noah's Ark was one of the greatest stories in the Bible because God gave us a rainbow at the end. And I was like, and I remember I told her, you know what that's like? Because I grew up in the South and I'm of that age. It's like when everyone told me you have to watch The Help. No, don't worry. It's 3 hours of misery, but she shits in a pie. And so everything's good at the end. And I was like, no, you're missing 99% of that story. And it's like, and I told her, in order to get to the part where God gave us a rainbow, saying he'll never do that again, you have to miss the part where God killed every baby, toddler, infant, man, woman. What did that kitten do in what's now Canada? What did that kitten do that's so fucked up that God had to drown it? You're missing everything. But that's what I'm saying. Religion is so strong. It even has non-believers defending it.
That is exactly the vibe I'm getting to.
Have to be quiet.
It's crazy. That's what I'm getting to, and it's weird for me too because I'm anti the thing. Right? Not only do I not believe in it, I think it's an existential threat to our survival. But I